Greetings, everyone.
Hiya, welcome back to the Gentleman's Chat.
Why'd you gather so many of us for this one episode?
Agreed. Having too many of us here just makes things crowded and cluttered.
Well, I don't feel crowded or cluttered.
Well, that's because you're small and floating. You have an aerial advantage.
Okay, everyone settle down. The reason I brought so many of you here this time is because I hear this one is going to be a very teamwork-oriented game. So I wanted to bring in everybody to see if we could play along.
You invited us all here to play a game? Precisely, Recycle Ben. And let's be honest, some of you aren't going to see any kind of screen time unless it's a group shot. Yay, I have value! Hey man, hey, where am I?
Maybe we should just cut to the episode.
Agreed. This is The Amazing Digital Circus, Episode 6. The episode begins with Pomni and Jax hanging out. When did this happen?
Probably last episode. But they stumble across Zubul, who is currently hiding in a pod, suspended. Why is she currently hiding in a pod, suspended? Well, because she overheard Kane and Bubble talking about another in-house adventure.
It has been well documented that Zubul does not like Kane's adventures, but it's also established that she is the only one who has seen Kane lose it and start destabilizing. Why does she keep pushing Kane's boundaries?
I think a large part of it is that Kane is also pushing her boundaries, even going as far as to start singing Daisy Chain outside of her door when she won't answer.
And here's something for the masses. If you actually want to look up Kane singing Daisy Chain, then the voice actor actually posted a video of himself singing it on YouTube. You should go ahead and watch it, it's actually quite funny.
Kane's obsession with Zubul is starting to become concerning. She should fear for her safety.
But clearly Jax doesn't feel the same way as he calls Kane and he T-poses into the room.
T-posing Kane isn't real, he can't hurt you. T-posing Kane. But upon seeing Zubul, he immediately frees her from her pot prison and tells them all to meet in front of the stage in a few minutes, much to Zubul's frustration.
So everyone gathers at the stage as Kane announces the next adventure is gonna be a short one because he's planning another event called the Favorite Character Awards.
Was this not based off of a real-life event where fans voted on their favorite characters?
With that, you are actually right. So for the adventure today, Kane decides to get inspired by the Suggestion Box adventures and use a sporting themes event. Though only sports he himself had a personal hand in creating, including...
In leagues, we have the 400-meter vertical skedaddle, bisection boogie egg ball, lateral hijinks, orange sport, ball run, walk ball, run walk, and ball ball.
Okay, I'm really curious about orange sport.
I am more interested in lateral hijinks.
Is anybody else here down for some bisectional egg ball?
But naturally, Zubul protests this because, well, Zubul, at this point, Zubul's an odd one. Like, she knows straight up that destabilizing and pissing off Kane is bad, but she still continues to do it.
She knows full well Kane will not listen to her. She knows full well that Kane will just do whatever he wants. The most optimal strategy for change would be if she played into his ego and made suggestions here and there, rather than constantly opposing his ego, causing him to double down.
And this obviously infuriates Kane. Look at him. He doesn't know what they want.
And let me play a little bit of devil's advocate for Kane. Well, yes, Kane does say that he doesn't know what they want. It's also fair to say that the suggestion box didn't help, because while there were adventures that they did enjoy, it was obvious that the suggestion box also was a double-edged sword, because there was a lot of suggestions they did make that they didn't like. But I will admit that Kane is a little bit too controlling, because unless it's him causing the fun, he doesn't like the adventure. So I will give a point for Zubul for that. But I might take that point away after this.
Alright, you really want to know what I want?
Oh no.
I want the ability to have sex.
I have so many questions! Okay, Zubul, we really need to chat. Yes, I want to sympathize with you. Yes, I realize you're in an impossible situation and there doesn't seem to be a way out at the moment. But here's the thing. Intentionally antagonizing the AI trying to take care of you and trying to make sure you're well to the best of its abilities is not going to help anyone. If anything, you're going to actively make things worse for everyone. Yes, you are miserable. Yes, you are suffering. Yes, this is nothing but non-stop hell. But you know what? Everyone else is in it. And if Kane goes down, everyone goes down. You, Pomni, Jax, Ragatha, everyone. For the sake of everyone else who are in this sinking ship with you, wouldn't it be too much to ask for you to just smile and bear with it? Take the bullet, if you will? Zubul, I really want to like your character. But if your actions are what ends up turning Kane into an abstracted monster and letting loose all the other abstracted monsters, then I'm not going to like you anymore. And it will be all on you.
Well, that comment alone seems to be enough to break down Kane, and it looks like he's about to abstract until he doesn't. If anything, he kind of forgets the whole conversation happened.
You don't think he's self-deleting memories that he contradict with his programming, do you? Self-deleting, or perhaps even suppressing. But he can't hide from the truth forever. Well, he seems to be moving forward with this team exercise, but Zubul once again complains that she refused to work together with Jax. But this time I think the comment is warranted because Jax is an asshole. But Kane makes a joke about assumptions making an ass, which is kind of weird hearing Kane swear when he censors everything else. I'm gonna make a note of that. But he also makes a full joke with making an ass out of you and Ming, creating a whole NPC to make the joke land.
But then Kane decides to scrap all the sports ideas and go right into a trust exercise adventure and creates a whole convoluted way of doing a trust exercise.
This is a private room where nobody can see or hear you once inside. And this is a loaded gun.
I can't tell if he's serious, and that's very concerning.
So we're not going to bother explaining what the hell's going on because it'd take too long and it's irrelevant, because they don't actually end up doing it. Because once again, Zubul's complaints mostly be about Jack. And Jack is the one given the loaded gun and the instructions of how to play this adventure. And so, I guess Jax is up for this.
Well, who could have saw that fucking coming? So it's at this point Kane just kinda gives up. Yeah, he's just like any other DM who is dealing with a bunch of murder hobos. He just says, okay, throws up his hands, and gives them all guns and just say, shoot each other for a couple hours while I work on something else. Just split up into 3 teams and kill each other. Wait, when you said we were playing games this episode, did you mean this?
Absolutely. Get ready to get your paintball on. Oh boy, finally an excuse to exterminate all life on Earth. Far out, man. So he gives them 5 minutes to decide teams. Jack immediately tries to get with Gangle, but Gangle says no, because she's going to be with Zubul. And Zubul's saying, yeah, that's right, fuck you, Jax, and walks off with her. But shockingly enough, Pomni is the one to reach out to Ragatha to have Ragatha on her team. And even more shocking, she turns her down, but not without a good reason. Yeah, man, Kinger tweaks out way too much. Yeah, and so she decides to sacrifice herself to be on Kinger's team, which leaves Pomni with Jack. But not without Ragatha feeling guilty of turning down Pomni. Yeah, man, don't think about it too much. Just relax, man. Just a game, dude. We also get this cute little adorable scene of Gangle entrusting her comedy mask to Zubul. And when asked why, because she doesn't trust herself with it, and she wants to save it for when she finds a Tommy gun and gets to laugh maniacally while firing it randomly. Honestly, I know the feeling. And you know what? I'm with her on this. Zubel, keep it safe with your life. I don't care if you have to die in the process. You keep that comedy mask safe so this little bundle of ribbons can actually enjoy herself for once.
So with the teams picked and everything sorted out, the 5 minutes are up, and they immediately don't start blasting because the guns get teleported, and they get 3 hearts over their heads. Well, most of them do. Ragatha apparently loses one because of Jax shooting her earlier. And when asked about this, well, Kane doesn't care. He just genuinely does not care anymore.
So the amazing digital circus turned into Fortnite? You're thinking too hard into this. Eat your chips.
And speaking of thinking too hard, Kane pulls out some photos while relaxing, and it's The Office. Like, The Office from the first episode. And he's looking at them very intently. Alright, here are the rules. Everybody splits up into teams of 2.
I have specifically hidden the guns throughout the entirety of our maps, so all places that we've had gentlemen chats before are on the table. And I threw in some surprises if you're able to find them.
Hey, Ooze, you want to be on the team with me? We can be Team Purple, and we can destroy the competition! Well, normally I'm more of a solo act, but I like your enthusiasm, so let's do it.
Do we really have to play a game with so much moving around? What's going on?
Gent, there is apparently a miscalculation. There are 7 people here, and the teams are not even.
Yeah, sorry about that, Symphy. I tried to get some of the other gents here, but some of them were either too busy or couldn't make it. And the person that was supposed to be here canceled at the last second. So unfortunately, we got uneven teams. You can be on a team of 3 if you want.
Don't worry about it. I work better alone.
Okay, well, with that ominous statement settled, let's go ahead and start this paintball game!
Wait, paintball? So the game is afoot, and already Team Pew Pew is at a massive disadvantage. Mostly because of Ragatha. In fact, it's almost entirely because of Ragatha. Her non-violent tendencies, plus the fact that she's already down a heart, that she does make note of, is already a massive handicap.
I mean, we do know Kinger is a pro with a gun, but only in the dark, and it's quite bright. So I'm not sure how this unfair balance is going to affect things.
Oh, I got just the thing. Here, take this.
Well, wait. What did you just do? What was that?
It's a butterfly. It can restore your health.
Did Kane mention that?
Oh, nah. I made it up.
Okay, there's like no possible way we could just sit back and ignore that, right? Kinger just manipulated the game and changed the rules of Kane's game. I mean, on one hand, I'm absolutely thrilled about this prospect because it gives more credibility to our theory that Kane and Kinger are connected by something outside of just being the ones longest in the game. Of course, this also gives rise to another theory that has been poking around my mind brain for some time. Maybe the players have more control over their environments than we thought. I mean, this Kinger situation is a grand example, but in the episode prior, we learned that Jax used to have a tail, and now he doesn't. And also in the last episode, I might be stupid for saying this, but we know that their forms aren't exactly set in stone. Do the characters actually have control over this digital circus? And is Kane hiding that fact from them? Is Kane deliberately hiding the fact that Zubels could change her form whenever she wants? Or Gangel's mask doesn't have to break all the time? Is he hiding the fact that they actually do have the power to manipulate his adventures? We know he's a control freak.
Okay, Jen, we'll put a pin in this because otherwise we'll be here all day, and we have a lot of review to go through. So we later cut back to Jax and Pomni hunting down for some firearms, and Jax asks the question, who are you going after first? Pomni says that she's not going after anyone because she doesn't want to shoot her friends, and Jax, well, he actually helps her out a little bit in this regard. He's giving her the advice that, why does she care? She knows nothing there's no consequences in this world, so why keep holding herself to the same standard?
He states that they all have an archetype that they all fall into, and he's the funny one. He's the one who breaks the fourth wall and pushes the boundaries.
I'd like to make a mental note here that he is not actually breaking the fourth wall. But he does make a fair argument. In this world, they are literally nothing but cartoon characters, so the only way to really survive in this world is to act like one. To be one. To just say fuck the consequences and just let loose, do whatever you want, and just have fun with it. That's the whole point of the game, right? So Pomni, taking his advice to heart, actually starts letting herself go, letting herself out, and letting herself becoming chaotic evil just like Jax. And so the two end up making the evil team.
Perish, Earthling scum, and take me to your weed, man.
Personally, I really like the scene between Jax and Pomni. We finally get an actual audio viewpoint of what Jax and his perspective on the entire circus is. And him giving this advice to Pomni kind of helps her out too. Also, it's great to see Pomni not being a victim for once. We cut back to Kinger and Ragatha as they've had very little luck in finding guns, which sucks because they just got taken out by a Cypress Zubul.
They engage in a firefight, but the gunfire alerts Team Jax and Team Pomni to their presence, and they immediately charge into action.
Kinger and Ragatha can't move anywhere because they're pinned down by a sniper, but then they get ambushed by Jax and Pomni, blasting away. Jax goes after Ragatha while Pomni goes after Kinger, and Ragatha is completely and utterly outmatched by Jax's toon logic.
Jax's speed, firepower, and merciless intentions are the worst matchup for Ragatha. She insists that Jax's evil plans for Pomni's corruption will never work, but Jax looks at her in confusion before trying to fire. But Ragatha pulls a Looney Tunes logic and the gun fires back. And this seems to upset Jax as he unloads a full clip into her, looking incredibly frustrated, sending Ragatha to the loser corner.
But what really freaks me out about Jax here is just how completely well he plays it off. Like, he's clearly frustrated in the scene, but in the very next shot with Pomni, he acts like he's alright. The smile, everything. It's almost as if nothing happened. How can we search an entire tent and yet still only find a single pistol? First come, first serve. And while I do enjoy my magical powers, there's something fun about simply pulling a trigger.
We later cut back to Zubul's and Gangle, as they couldn't find a Tommy gun, but Zubul's did find an AK-47, and hopes that could make up for it. But that's clearly not what's on Gangle's mind. No, rather, what's on her mind is Jax. Specifically, all the terrible things that Jax might do to her, since she was the one who turned down going on his team. Oh my god, that is sad.
No. Yeah, that is beyond sad. Jax's bullying is this extreme that she even thinks about him when he's not even there. That is hardcore level psychotic.
Look, I am a supervillain, but at least I stop at destroying one's house, home, and family.
But this does lead to a nice conversation between Zubul's and Gangle, talking about how it's weird how they're the only ones with weird avatar gimmicks, how she doesn't deserve thinking about Jax when he's not even there, and that no matter what, they're going to stick together. And a lot of people seem to take this as shipping. Personally, I see it as a more mature adult consulting what is presumably a teenage girl.
She did go to college and become a shifts manager, so I'm assuming she's at least 20. We later cut to the devil himself talking to Pomni about his fear of corn when they happen to stumble across Kinga. They open fire, of course, but Kinga enters into a dark room. And considering what he was able to do with a shotgun and an angel, as well as being more sentient in the dark, it becomes a full-on firefight between Kinga versus Team Evil. And honestly, it is a superbly shot, with all of the lighting being exclusively from the gunfire, and seeing all the malicious and evil faces of them
evilly killing each other. It is indeed quite the spectacle, despite not being able to see most of it. But unfortunately, or fortunately, it does end in a very over-the-top comedic way, with Kinga accidentally ricocheting the bullet and shooting himself. So officially, Team Pew Pew is out of the competition.
Exterminate! Exterminate!
Haha! I knew Rehash would put the best drops in his own personal room. Hey, how are you doing, Ooze? Honestly, I'm a little disappointed. He just saw a few pills and started popping them like Tic Tacs.
Well, we do then cut to Kinga and Ragatha in the loser corner, where Kinga's just having a grand old time, but because it's dark, his sane brain starts taking over, and he realizes Ragatha is in distress, because she feels like she's failed Pomni in some way, in the same way she's failed Jax. Apparently, she feels way too much pressure and guilt over turning Pomni down when she reached out earlier. This is where they share a very intimate moment, almost like a father and a daughter, one could say, as they talk about Ragatha's insecurities about constantly being liked by everyone, almost as if she hates herself, which Kinga tries to comfort her the best way he could. Again, this almost feels the same way as Kinga and Pomni when they talked, and him giving more fatherly-like advice. And here Jeff definitely feels genuine. I dare say there might be a relationship between these two, on the same lines as a platonic father-daughter relationship can go. But of course, this is also partially a comedy, so Bubbles is there recording the entire thing.
We then cut to Gangle and Zooble as they're running for their lives inside one of the tunnels, being chased by Pomni and Jax. They're nearly out of ammo, they don't have too much weapons, and unfortunately they seem to be in a very big pickle. It unfortunately doesn't look like that Zooble and Gangle are going to get their chance with the Tommy. Oh my goodness, God is on their side.
That was beautiful, man. Even though she got shot by Pomni, she still dies with a cracked smile across her face.
So, with the only competitor left being Zooble, Team Evil pursues her right into her room, where they call her a coward for locking herself in. But it also is made perfectly clear she's not locked in, she's prepping. But they still annoy her by singing Daisy Chain right outside her door, similar to Cain, which, again, only pisses her off, and only makes her justification for arming herself to the T even more justifiable. Then, after they're done singing their duet, Jax remembers, oh, I have a key, unlocks the door, and turns himself into Swiss cheese because Zooble ain't playing by that shit. So Zooble gets away, and they're all down to their last life. Pomni chases after her, saying leave it to her, and Jax is left all by his lonesome. And then he starts pondering them to himself while staring at the doors of all of his abstracted friends, including that frog one from the last episode. And he gets a very unusual expression.
Pomni eventually realizes she can't catch up to Zooble's. Yeah. And then she pulls off the most miraculous shot ever with one bullet, man, shooting all 4 of her guns, and then forcing her to drop to her knees, man. And then they pull up all gangsta-like, man, and Zooble's all like, man, fuck this, man. And then they shoot her, man, and then she ends up in the loser corner, man.
Great commentary, Zaza.
Eat lead, you adults with attitude! Decipher, back me up. I'm trying, but I can't load it fast enough. Ah!
4 gents down, 1 to go.
So with Zooble out of the way, Team Evil is the winner. Jack and Pomni have successfully defeated everybody.
Was there any doubt? I mean, it's Jax.
But when Pomni expresses feeling towards him, he rejects her outright. And when goofing off at a betrayal, he surprises her by accepting her betrayal and saying it's okay to shoot him, which takes her off guard.
With Jax feeling as though Pomni and him are getting close, he immediately starts to build up the wall between them again by insulting their friendship, by stepping all over her, by saying they weren't really friends, and that it's nothing but his mindless entertainment. Pomni is taken aback by this attitude because they were getting close, and she doesn't want to accept the fact that everything they went through was just them being, well, that.
But Jax proceeds to press every single one of her buttons to agitate her, to anger her, to get her into depression, even going as far as to say that if she abstracted tomorrow, he would move on and forget about her. But even he realizes he went too far with that comment, so he plays it off as a joke. And that's when Pomni snaps, and instead of shooting the bastard, attacks him in a vicious animal-like state, forcing him to defend himself by throwing her off. She proceeds to still fight him until eventually calming down enough for him to say, "What's wrong with you?" And she demands he tell her why he didn't fight back.
This is when Jax lets out his true feelings towards her in the situation. That he says, and I quote, "I am the one who tortures and punishes players for fun. He tries so hard to be the villain that he can't accept a reality where he has actual friendship."
Obviously, that's not how he actually feels, and that's not an excuse for everything he's done up to this point. But it's clear to Pomni and the audience that Jax is a man hurting. He's hurting a lot. But he chooses to live in the reality that he is the bad guy and not accept the reality that he is hurting.
You're the last one playing, Symphy. Come out, wherever you are.
So we cut to some time later, and Jax and Pomni are in a weird place. But whatever was between Rakatha and Pomni earlier, well, they seem to be not quite over it, but they're still willing to move forward, and they're still on good terms. So everybody takes their seats, with Jax noticeably taking a seat away from everybody else, as we finally get introduced to the Favorite Character Awards. But while Kane is going on about the awards, Jax immediately bolts to the restroom, turns on the water, and is clearly having a panic attack. It looks like he's on the verge of abstracting, but he manages to save himself just in the nick of time.
Wait, does anybody else see what's written in the mirrors next to Jax? I swear that spells something.
Well, we cut back to Kane, who makes a joke about Zubul, as Zubul is clearly on the stupid sauce. And then we finally get introduced to the favorite character.
Oh, who are we kidding? Of course he's going to say it's himself. And he does.
But then he plays it off as a joke, as it's actually Ming who's the favorite character.
Because we all love Ming.
Everybody loves Ming. Ming is the greatest character ever to exist.
Admittedly, though, it does feel a little cheap that they did all that just for a joke. But then we actually get something that we haven't gotten with the other episodes, and I actually almost skipped it in my first viewing. A cutscene after credits, where we see after the show, Kane actually checks the ballots to see who the real favorite character was. Or, more specifically, how many people voted for him. And no one. No one voted for him. Are you seriously telling me that out of everybody in the world, nobody chose Kane as their favorite character? That's very hard to believe.
Well, I did actually see the results. He wasn't the unfavored, he just was the least favorite character. Probably because he's a villain.
Aren't villains usually the most favorited?
Yes, but he's clearly more antagonistic and very off-screen most of the time.
Regardless, this causes him to glitch out, and I think we're going to get a lot darker episodes in the future. And that was... Bleh.
I will take it from here as my prize. Closing thoughts. There is clearly more going on with the circus than what Kane is allowing us to believe. Kinger is a prime example, as he is able to affect the code, and multiple times this episode, there were several instances where the characters affected the code. Gangle and Zubul have affected the code. Jax was able to get his tail back, which affected the code. The circus seems to be a little bit more gray than black and white, and Kane is either ignorant of this or he is purposely hiding it. Jack's bullying actions clearly stems from him believing to himself to be a villain, but he is in fact a man who is hurting, a man who is clearly covering sorrow with laughter, but at everyone's expense. This is not an excuse for his actions, but merely an explanation. If his situation does not turn around soon, I am afraid he will extract. The end credit scenes at the end clearly shows that there are much more dark scenarios for our adventurers to go through. But until then, we can only assume the worst. But until then, we are the Cartoon Gentlemen. I am Symphonic Symphony, and this has been a Gentleman's Chat. We will see you next time.